You're listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.
Yeah, I mean, for 10 years, 10 years, has been like, 8 to 9 years, been solo. And it was just so much work. So now I know my value. So my value isn't what I do. And I know these people can excel my value because now it's like, man, you need these people.
Yeah.
So.
I like I said, I was kind of kicking it around too because I didn't know how this would progress, right? It was just to record and have fun and digitally document family and friends. And so now I'm like, well, man, I need to step up my game. So that's been the hard part.
All right.
But anyway, Rob Guzman.
Oh, we're starting.
Yeah, let's get started. Okay. Hey, again, like I said, I just letting it fly, man. Fly. So, how's the book coming along, man? I know we talked about that last time you were here. Has that progressed, or what's going on with that?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I looked up the last time I was on here, it was 6 months ago. And I think I was in the beginning phases. Mm-hmm. Now I am getting close to the ending phases. I'm on my third draft.
Okay. So does that mean that it's completed?
Yeah. So
that's your first draft, or are you doing it in sections?
The first draft was just to get everything on paper.
Gotcha.
There was no punctuation. It was like one giant long run-on sentence
no,
with horrible spelling.
7,000 commas.
Yeah, no, it's 0 commas.
0 commas.
So
just
it was.
one period.
I met with a couple people that write books, and they're like, just get it on paper. Don't worry about grammar, spelling, punctuation. Just get all the ideas on there.
And then she said, "This isn't what I meant, Rob."
So I threw it all on there. Some of it made sense, some of it didn't. I went back to reread it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is horrible." But it was just to get the ideas down.
Right.
So then I handed that part out I made 10 copies, handed out to 10 different people that had different eyes, professionals, people that I wrote the book for to use, gave some to some of them and got the copies back. 50% of them, which is good, right? You give out 10, you're going to get about 3. I got 5, went over those notes. So fine, it's feedback, because if 7 people tell me in the notes that I don't get this part, that means I need to work on it. But if only one person says it, then it should be good to go. Second draft was spelling, punctuation. So this is not really rewriting yet. This is just getting all the grammar fixed now.
Yeah.
For it to make sense.
Well, real quick, before we continue on this, let everybody know what book you're writing. And what it's the gist of it.
So I started a new business, 4F Lifestyle, based off the last podcast. I fine-tuned it. So now we're looking at breaking and cultivating generational mindsets to help self-development, but with faith as a background.
Gotcha. So it's kind of not only financial, it's the whole shebang. It's self-development.
I call it obviously the 4 Fs. For me, it's the 4 pillars, which is, faith, fitness, finances, and freedom.
Gotcha.
So really diving into that, fine-tuning that, hence why we're talking about why you need specific people in a team. Mm-hmm. I needed, I hired a boss, so I needed her to really fine-tune my vision, right? Because mine is just a vision.
I love that. I hired a boss.
Yeah, I hired somebody to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So because, again, that's not my jam. I know this, I'm trying to bring it to life, and you need these people, right? This team to help bring this vision into life. And, they all believe in me. Going back to the gym thing.
Yeah.
All my staff believed in me. Now with this one, this business is faith driven. It was a vision that God set on my heart. So all these people, 1, believe in me. 2, we're all in line in the same faith, and we have that same vision. So she really believes in me. And it's more of, again, we had to really fine tune, what is my call? What is my purpose? And my purpose is, again, to develop people, but one by one, and just really breaking their generational habits and cultivating new ones. And it takes so much pressure off people. So that's where the freedom comes in.
Yeah.
but it's all driven off of faith. So
Gotcha.
that's what I do.
Gotcha.
And this book is geared for people that don't like to read. It's going to be about 50 pages.
Oh, this is going to be my first book. Then.
So it went from 66 pages. Now I'm getting it down to 50. 50 pages. Super easy read.
Really big font.
I mean, I can make big font.
Well, you know what's funny is like I told you earlier, I'm 47, and I find that reading smaller fonts getting more and more difficult. So you may want to do like an older folks version.
Or when you buy a book, it comes with the little eyeglass. So you can see
little with the monocle you put in there.
Reader. So the book is based, again, to hit the people that they want to change, but they don't know how, or they want to internally change, but they won't vocalize it. So it's telling my story, but in a how-to.
Yeah.
So I'm in the phase of I fixed the grammar and the punctuation. Now I am rewriting every single paragraph.
Really?
Because now I got a year in this game
Yeah.
of being an author. Now I can visually see what needs to be fixed. How can I touch somebody? So I need to start fixing it. So I'm rewriting every single paragraph.
That's awesome, man.
So
Well, you almost have to do that. One thing that I find really interesting that you're talking about right now is through this podcast, talking to folks, I realize the importance of having a mentor, right? And so I don't think that I have one currently, but I'll find one eventually. But I think that it's important for folks, and you talk about the breaking the mindset and the generational gaps and stuff. You know, for me, it was always I can do it on my own. I don't need a direction. You know, and I think it was a very selfish way for me to think. Yeah. And so now talking to folks and talking to folks that have done well for themselves, I realize the importance of a mentor. And we were talking about this earlier. I'm starting to get the importance of building a solid team around you, right? Because earlier, like we were talking, I had no intention of, for me, I've always just done enough to where I can keep my arms around it. Yeah. You know, if it got any bigger than that, I didn't want to go that big. But I'm finding that I owe it to myself and folks that watch this or listen to this to put out something to increase the quality. You know, Renee said the last time he was on, hey, step up your game because I'm stepping up mine, you know, and I'm starting to realize that to do something like that, you got to build a team around you. And it sounds like that's what you've done or what you're doing.
Well, I'm trying to. I'm working on it. Again, I just hired my social media marketer, right? So now I have a boss helping me understand where I want to go, how to get there, because it's not just the book. I want to do speaking events, whether it's one person, 5, 10, 100. I enjoy touching and teaching people and impacting their lives. Okay, well, if I'm doing that, I need someone to, book events, get in touch. Someone like yourself, right? Yes, we met on social, but again, by the time you know it, somebody will be reaching out to you because I have that team done. This gentleman, he does social media on the marketing side, analytics side, understanding SEO, it's all those things. That's not my jam.
You'll still talk to me though, right?
Yeah, I'll still talk to you. Yeah.
Cool.
So this is what me and you do. I don't do that, and I don't do this. And it just took me 8 years. Well, it took me 8 years, but also it's funding, right? Capital. How are you going to, pay these people?
Yeah. I didn't want to tell you this because, like I said, you're the finance guy, but this is all funded by Best Buy credit card. So,
I mean, you got to start somewhere. I mean, I use credit cards. I was texting a buddy of mine this morning. We touch on credit cards here and there. I have 13, but I know how to use them.
Yeah.
Having one can be horrible and it's just misused. So if you understand them properly and use them properly, they're fine.
Yeah.
And they have, great perks. But again, it's the foundation piece. So when I touch on clients, and it's going to touch in the book, is get good at the basics. And I talked about this to somebody else as well, is that when you're scrolling through Instagram, I told this analytics guy, like, I'm not going to be yelling on Instagram, stop scrolling right now. Do this, right? Or You're not going to catch me dancing.
Like for me, that immediately, I just go through it.
Yeah. So they're telling you about a race, right? We're just thinking about running. They're telling you about a race that you're gonna run, and they're saying, "Hey, come run this race. I'm gonna tell you what it's about, and you start here, but you can end here, right?" And they always talk about money. So they're throwing you in something, but what about if you don't know how to run?
Sure.
What about if you need to run a certain style, right? If you're a marathon runner, you're not gonna run the same way as a trail runner. So I was like, okay, I am going to teach each person how to run the race that they're looking for. Sure. So it's not just the race that they're going to do. You can do that, and more than likely you're going to fail because you don't even understand what this person's trying to get you to do. But again, it comes back from the foundation pieces. So I teach the person to run. They tell me, hey, I saw this race and I want to make X amount of dollars. Cool. That's what you're going to do. But I am going to teach you the basics on how to even get in the game, how to get in the race, and be able to run and not get tired. Because again, being an entrepreneur, we know it's very exhausting.
Sure. Well, this is the important thing of like finding like I guess I'm just making up words here, but like a financial mentor is, and I'll speak from my example. Yeah. There's not financially, for a lot of us, especially today, I saw some stat that like 60% of people are living on credit right now because of the way things are.
More in the holidays.
It probably goes down 100% or 90%. But the thing, like for me, I don't have enough money stashed away to make mistakes. To sit there and explore how do I want to make money? How do I want to save money? How do I want to spend money? So finding somebody like you that has a better handle on the financial aspect of it will help mitigate mistakes. It will help somebody like me who doesn't have a whole lot of wiggle room to make better financial moves, I guess, right?
Well, you do have the wiggle room. You just don't know it because you're seeing it as one thing. I come in and I am going to learn everything about you, everything. And I'm going to find the wiggle room, but it's going to be your call if you want to give to get.
Sure.
And that's again where people like, we speak and we sit and they're like, well, I can't afford you. And I'm like, no, you can. One, because I saw what kind of car you drive. Two, if you're with, your wife or whoever, that purse right there, or the sunglasses, like you have the wiggle room to afford, but what are you willing to give to get? Are you willing to give up, I don't know, something for 6 months to get to where you don't have this stress and these financial burdens? Because it took a while for it to be known. Everybody knew, but nobody wanted to say the word, just recession.
Sure.
We're in one.
Oh,
we've
absolutely.
been in one. Nobody just wants to admit it. So not relying on, the government, make yourself recession proof, right? Yeah. Creating your own economy, creating on this where you're not having to worry about borrowing from the bank or doing this or getting behind on the mortgage payments and how you're going to feed your family. Because most people get paid on Friday and they're broke by Tuesday.
Hey man, sometimes they pay me early, so I'm broke before payday hits.
And then during the holidays, people want to overspend because, oh, that's how I show love is by gifting. I'm like, okay, cool. Gift your time.
Yeah.
Your time is gift your attention. This might not be the season that you can afford these expensive gifts because things just got more expensive, right? We all know even food.
Sure.
To even host a party, you're going to spend hundreds, maybe $1,000, what would have been a couple $100 a few years ago, right? Mm-hmm. So having to get to those times. So I go through people's, finances, but again, it's not just the finance part, is what did you learn or what did you know prior to all these things happening? Poor finances, either poor health, mental health, that is a symptom of a cause. Mm-hmm. So we need to find the cause to mitigate the symptoms, like a cold. Yeah. Right? You're coughing, you have runny nose. Just a cold. It's not your runny nose.
I think the importance of a specialist like somebody like you is a lot, and I say us because I have terrible habits all the way around, Rob. We go to A to Z. I'm going to tell you all my habits, and you'll go, those are all the worst that you could possibly have, and you've got them all. But a lot of times a year goes by so fast.
Oh yeah.
Look, let's take the time we're in right now. Everybody goes back to work on the 2nd. everybody's broke because they spend all their money during the holidays, whether it was for the Thanksgiving meal or gifts, because you want to be able to give an experience to your kids, right? As I get older, I start to realize and maybe it just comes with age or whatever, but I find myself going, I got too much crap, and I start to, because I'm a guy who likes things, and as I get older, I start to realize the important thing are your memories and your experiences. And it's like you can still have an enjoyable holiday season, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, just by interacting, have a good time, being with people. You don't have to break the bank, and so many people do. But then you get into the rest of the year, right? The year starts, spring break hits, the kids are off in the summer. And before you know it, you went a whole nother year doing the same habits. And it really takes a conscious effort or somebody with your skill set to go, hey, time out, man. You need to address this problem because before you know it, it's going to be summer. Kids are going to go to camp, or they're going to go do this, or they're going to be home all summer. Then now we're in the fall, and now we're back in, it's Halloween, Thanksgiving. Yeah. As the years go, the years go by so fast, and it's like you've got to. I'm just as guilty, right? Yeah. But you gotta put the brakes on this stuff and go, hey, let's reevaluate what's happening, because we can't maintain this pace. Yeah. There's slowly. I'll give you a good example for me. Is there's slowly this especially with the recession that we're in, this little transition where, okay, here's money, here's incoming money, here's outgoing money, and all of a sudden they start doing this number. Yeah. And then before you know it, it's like, holy crap, I got to use the credit card for gas because I don't get paid for 3 more days. Yep. And you do that once, you do that twice, you do it 100 times. Before you know it, you're deep, man.
Well, pretty much you summed up what a lot of people don't do is self-reflecting. Yeah. Being honest with yourself. I think I said this last time, there's 2 people you can't lie to, God and yourself. You want to give yourself other excuses. You want to blame the president or the country. You want to blame something to talk about why you're having these habits. When it's really just you.
Well, if I can blame somebody else, I don't have to do anything about it.
Correct. So, and that's where, again, a lot of people come in and they seek my help. Yeah. But it's not my job to convince you that you need me. You have a problem, and I'm a problem solver. So when people ask me, what do you sell? I say, I don't sell anything, but I solve problems. Yeah. You have these issues. Do you want to fix them or not? Cool, I can help you. But I don't sell anything. You should tell me why I should work with you. Because typically we call them ABC clients, right? Your A client is going to do everything. They pay the most because it comes down to skin in the game, right? If you ain't got no skin in the game, then you ain't going to do it. Yeah. So that's where say you do somebody a solid and okay, I'm going to teach you for free. And you're like, hey man, have you done your homework? Well, no, because I was this and that. And I need you to do it. Then to reach in again. Hey, have you done it? Well, no. Well, kind of. Well, this. But then that's a C client. Yeah. You have an A client that coughed up money, that paid a nice chunk to learn. And you're like, did you do this? Yep. Have you done that? Oh, yeah, I did it. Oh, I was waiting for you to tell me what's next. Because you have skin in the game. Sure. You gave up something to learn. And it's so when I tell them how much it costs, they're like, whoa, no, you're too expensive. I said, no, let's reevaluate this value. You cost more than what I cost. Sure. You're costing yourself and math doesn't lie. People lie. Math doesn't lie. The only way that math can skew is if you give me the wrong variables. So I go for an example of 2 + 2 is always going to equal 4. And if you tell me something else, I'm going to tell you okay. So I could be 2 + 2 = 4. You could be a 3 + 1, still 4. Somebody sitting over here could be a 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. The answer is still 4. It was those variables that change. So I find those variables and I lay them on the table. Here is the same equation with all your different variables. Now you pick the route you want to go. So I'll give my professional opinion. If you want to pick this one, we're going to go that way. But if I really know that's not the way to go, I'm going to let you get so far, then I'll roll you back in and be like, okay, let's reevaluate this. Because I'm not a yes man. Yeah. You're right. You're paying me for a service. I'm solving a problem. I know the answer, but I'm still essentially not going to tell you because I'm not going to do it for you. I want you to learn and understand what you're doing because, again, it goes back to what you said. It's the memories and the experiences. But people want to give things. Well, if you're going to give somebody something, say your kids, I want a better life for them. One is not going to be material things because they're going to pick up bad habits from you. Give them memories and experience and education and knowledge. Teach them what you didn't know. If it's finances, great. If it's health, great. If it's mental health, great. Teach them those things so they can pass it on to somebody and pass it on to somebody. So when I break down the math and I tell them, this is what I cost, we can project, man, you can make your money back in 6 months.
I think where people get a little, I don't know, iffy on it is because people like to spend money and have something tangible, right?
Correct.
I wanna give $20 and buy this lamp.
Yep.
You know, where what you're selling is knowledge, you know, and this is where people's mindset, I guess, needs to kind of readjust. Is I spend $20, I get this lamp. Lamp lasts a while, you know. But when you're purchasing education and a knowledge base, you never lose that. You know, that's something that you can build on. That's something you can share. It's an investment that
you're invested in yourself.
Yes, and it's you're investing in yourself. You're investing in this knowledge, and you're capable to carry that. And basically, you're selling tools, like mental tools, right? Correct. And so as long as I always tell people, you know, like I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I know how things operate and function for the most part. And so to me, those are all tools, right? I don't even necessarily know the problem I'm going to run into next week. But if I have a decent set of tools in my box, I can pretty much fix any problem, you know, and not physically having these, but mental tools, right?
Yeah.
The ability to think, the ability to process, the ability to understand how the world functions.
Correct.
You can approach pretty much any problem and utilize some of that knowledge. So what you're selling is a knowledge to people that a lot of times they'll sit there and go, "Oh man, Rob, you're expensive," but it's like I'm fixing to teach you something you won't know, you don't know, but you can apply to other things.
It's like you have a check engine light on your car. You go to somewhere to fix it, and like, cool, it's gonna be $99 for me to plug this little OBD2 or whatever they have now.
Sure.
And you're like, wait, what? And you're gonna charge me to plug it? Well, yeah. I mean, you have a light going on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what it is, and then they're like, well. Okay, cool. They'll pay that. They'll trying to figure out what it is, and they always take it to someone that charges cheaper or doing something. It's like, well, then the job doesn't come out properly, and they're back again, right? So it becomes a cycle. So again, yeah, breaking that.
But I mean, you using that example. You're not just plugging this into the car's computer and telling them what's wrong with their car. What you're gonna give somebody is the ability to plug their own stuff into their car in the future. You know, they may need Rob for a year or 2 or 5, but at some point they're gonna get enough knowledge from you that they've learned enough that they can apply the skill sets you have, because now they have those skills.
Because again, the foundations never change, right? Again, 2 + 2 is always going to equal 4. That equation is the same, but the variables change. So I mean, I tell my clients that we're gonna do this for 10 months. So this isn't a 6-week course, 8-week challenge. I am legit in your business for 10 months, 8 to 10 months, depending again how fast we move.
Some people have a hard time with that.
In the beginning, yes, because again, and a lot of people
are private, you know.
A lot of people tell me they don't want someone to tell them what to do, and I straight up tell them, I'm not telling you what to do.
Rob.
You're telling me what to do.
Yeah.
You are telling me where you want to go. You are telling me your vision, your goals. You're telling me all this about you.
These are your wants.
Yeah, these are your wants. I am just the guy to help you understand. Do you really want it? Okay, you do. Okay, this is how we're going to get there. And then we kind of trickle down that course. And eventually a lot of people go back and be like, man, I really don't want this. Okay, because you've grown.
Yeah.
You grew inside. You've grown mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever that is. You've grown. You saw the importance of that's what the old you wanted. Mm-hmm. This is what the new you want. And it's for me, it constantly changes. What I thought I wanted 6 months ago when I met you, some things have changed from then. because it's constantly developing. And that's where, again, people need to understand. And again, coming from the Hispanic culture, we have a hard time with that.
What is the most stubborn thing you found with raza? What's the one thing you just want to just grab them by the throat and slap them a little bit? I've got my ideas, but what have you come across?
Honestly, mine is just trust.
Yeah.
They either been burned or they've worked with the wrong people. It's a trust thing for them. But again, it comes down to, I can't help you if I don't know. And two, I'm not telling you what to do. You're telling me. I am just giving you what you want or what you think you want and laying it all out. Right? So again, the biggest thing is just trust. They just have, they learned it from grandma or grandpa, then somebody. So again, it was a habit thing that they became generational. Mm-hmm. Somebody has to be the first. Nobody wants to be the first because it's scary. It takes courage. It takes all these things to be that first person to do it. And that's another thing. Some people are like, well, I'm going to be the first. And I'm nervous. And I'm like, good. That means you care. But it needs to be done. Why not you, right? Why can't you take the reins and change for all generations to come? Even with that, me being the first, I'm helping my parents now, right? So I'm educating them. I am showing them these things that changed, right? Of course, like online and online banking and all these things are added. My parents are not tech savvy like that, but trying to keep up with that, showing them, hey, using this bank, math isn't adding up, right? You are losing money every time money's in the bank, and that is true. When you have your money in the bank, we want to do the same things banks do or credit unions do. We want to create funding for ourselves. So just understanding how banks work and how they make money. So teaching my parents and getting them to understand that part. And again, when you have a generational of that, came from middle class or lower class and they've accumulated so much, funds, it's hard to let go.
Sure.
Right? Just like you like buying things. It's hard. You hoard things. You don't want to let it go. Oh, I'm going to use that later. And like, you haven't used it like in 2 years. Oh, that one day I'm going to need it.
Probably longer, Rob.
Yeah. So teaching them. And then again.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I can see how people do what their parents did. And a lot of this isn't me lecturing. This is me thinking out loud because I also apply a lot. When we have these conversations, I mentally, while you're talking, I'm applying it to myself. But I find that a lot of times we sit there and go, well, I do this because my parents did it and they did it because their parents did it. Yep. And now you're sitting there going, the circumstances are different though. Your grandparents didn't have the opportunities that you currently have. They didn't have the access that you currently have. And it's like they did what they could with what they had access to. Yep. Your access has grown exponentially, and the fact that you're behaving in a habit that your great-grandparents did 80 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, when you have more access and you have more opportunities, it doesn't make sense. The atmosphere around you's changed. Your mentality should have changed too. And it's funny because hearing you talk about it, I'm thinking about that, and it's like it seems silly to me. And I'm not poking fun at somebody because, like I said, I do these things, right? But I sit there and go, well, this is how I was taught. This is what I saw, and it's like, well, you're not taking the whole context into your thought process, because yes, you saw your parents and your grandparents behaving financially this way, or even, in whatever means, their personality, but that was a different time and with different variables, right? Different accesses. And it's like, now it's changed and there's more variables, there's more access, things have increased, but the mentality hasn't changed. And it's like, that's what you're talking about.
And again, that drives through your lifestyle. Hence why I use the word lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle. You're working on your faith, you're working on your fitness, you're working on your finances, you're working on your mental health, right? People talk about being stressed, and the world today tells you like, oh, you're perfect the way you are. Oh, cool. Anxiety and depression, whatever. Is that perfect really? No, it's not. Right? What What are you anxious about? Well, anxiously, financially, because XYZ. Okay. Let's work on these and let's get that anxiety to subside. I'm not saying that anxiety is not real. For me, it's used very loosely these days.
Sure.
But again, it is, what are these habits that are causing this stress or anxiety or depression?
I think you're right. Anxiety does exist. But I think a lot of people bundle bad habits and the actions that come from those bad habits, and they just equate it to anxiety because I can't do anything about anxiety. I'm out of control when it comes to anxiety. So we take this umbrella of anxiety and we throw a bunch of shit under it that we don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah.
And we just say, it's anxiety.
I mean, a lot of people can, feel anxious or feel this. It could be, a food thing, right? It could be, too much sugar in your diet, right? You get the jitters, you're getting this, or you're doing something and you're making too quick of a change, and your body's like trying to react to it. So you think it's one thing when it's really another. But you're covering it with this umbrella. But again, it's the world's out to attack me. So I mean, all these things of where it's self-reflection of understanding who, what, when, where, why, what you're doing, and are you willing to change for yourself? Again, people call me weird and I'm a robot because I do the same thing all the time. I make it a habit, from taking the same vitamins I take every day. I do it like brushing my teeth. I eat the same foods, one, because it's easy. I don't like to cook. So, and then again, cost efficiency, stuff like that, to drinking a lot of water, to what I do on a daily, I make it a habit.
Yeah.
From budgeting, checking our finances, making sure we're in line in our vision. Again, me and my wife, we went from once a week to having like a money talk. Then it turned into every 2 weeks. Now it's every month, because we know the race that we're doing, and we learned how to run by training every week. And then we hit training every 2 weeks and training every month. That can go into, your health, your physical health. Mm-hmm. It can go into your mental health. And this is something like it took me a while to speak on, is again, being vulnerable as a Hispanic male. Was not in my vocabulary. We saw vulnerability as a weakness, but vulnerability is a strength. So I started seeking, I go to a godly counselor, and I never talked about it before, but now I talk about it all the time because I saw, and I'm there, and I'm experienced how this gentleman is helping me. And you said it yourself. He is not the answer, but he's a tool. I use him as a tool to build this foundation. I need him right now, right? He is guiding me. It's still once I leave, it is my choice to put what I learned into play. So as soon as I walk in there, it's a switch. I need to take action. I need to do this. I need to do that. And I put, again, a lot of that pressure on myself because it's me. My wife looks to me. My kids look to me. People that I don't even know were looking at me. So again, and I'm not doing it for essentially any of them. I'm doing it for myself because I know what it's going to produce. So yes, I can be very robotic and very routine-ish, but I know the outcome that's going to happen. Again, I'm not perfect, and I make mistakes, but the difference is I don't see them as failures. I just see them as a learning. So I correct it. And if I fell again, I took those variables. What happened? And then I fine tune it and be like, there you go. Solved. Next.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that. You talk about the robotic behavior and doing things over and over again the same way. And it's funny because there's certain things. I wear a black hat and a t-shirt all the time. I wear a black t-shirt and jeans to work every day. Even for lunch, I go get the same barbecue sandwich almost every day. And it's funny because I had seen something, I think it was Albert Einstein or something, talked about how he had the same suit, not a single suit, multiple suits, but it was the same suit. And he wore it every day because it was one less thing for him to have to think about. He already knew what he's going to wear all week, and it's like, I think when we're trying to focus on something important to us, we've got to take that mental capacity from somewhere. right? And if I sit there and I go, okay, black t-shirt and blue jeans and boots are fine to work. I'm going to wear that every day. That's out of my my brain pattern. I don't know, I got that out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that. For lunch, I don't even. There's times where it's like, think about, now I'm going to get real toxic masculinity right now, man. Think about how many times you ask your wife, what do you want to eat for dinner? And you spend an hour just trying to figure that out. For a dude, it's like, I know I like this thing. I'm not tired of it yet. I'm going to eat it all week. When I was single, I would make baked chicken, and I would just eat baked chicken every single day.
Put some sauce in it, change it.
And
Still chicken.
I even just liked it just the way it was.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I think some of those behaviors that we take and we go, okay, I'm just going to do this all the time, because like you said, I've run through these scenarios. I've had failures, I've had successes, and this is what works for me. I like it. This is on the tier of importance. This is a lower thing. I'm just going to do this all the time and get that out of the way. Boom, that's done. I do it all the time. Move on. Let's go to the bigger fish, right? Yep. And so, yes, those behaviors can seem robotic, and they can kind of seem like he's boring, right? Mostly, you know what? For me to really put some effort and thought into some important things that are going to blow your mind, I'm going to do some boring stuff in other aspects.
That's called being intentional.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So being intentional from who I talk to, when I talk to them, who I meet, it's intentional. Yeah. I don't take on every client, because if I don't feel that connection, then now they're just becoming a dollar value. And that's, again, that's not what I want to be known for, and that's not my character. Yes, do I got to feed my family? Sure. But again, I know that if I work with somebody that my integrity aligns with, my faith aligns with, again, they don't have to have a faith journey or a faith walk, but I'd always let them know everything I do, it's going to be from scripture or, stuff like that. So it's going to be in there, but I'm not pushing it on you, but I just know the answers are in there. So drive it into that. And again, being intentional of even meeting with you, sitting with you, jamming with you, we get along very well. Like, there's an intentionality behind it. I didn't meet you and doing this with you just to get clicks, like, and reviews. Like, I'm in love with the process, not the algorithm. Sure. So that's where, again, I stand out from others. Like, that's not me. I'll tell you no. I'll give your money back. I ain't got no issues with that. Because then if there's no impact, then maybe I'm not what you're looking for. Yeah. Because again, I'm not everybody's, flavor of Kool-Aid, which is fine. It doesn't bother me. But again, it's because I'm not going to be a yes person. I'm going to tell you where I see these cracks in the foundation. But again, it's up to you. Like, hey man, that's going to get bigger. Nah, just leave it. Like, we'll just put some stuff over it. We'll put a rug over it. We'll do something. Like, it's going to come back. But hey, you know what? You're telling me what to do if that's something that we don't want to address right now. But I'm going to keep bringing it up until you finally like, man, maybe I should do that. Hey, that was you. Whether it takes 5 months, I'm still going to throw it out there.
I think that's important that you do stuff like that, because I feel like there's levels that people are comfortable with addressing, right? And the things that make people uncomfortable are probably the most important things to address. And it really is important for somebody to see some success. And sometimes you got to chop at you got to pick the low hanging fruit sometimes, right? So people can see that there's some success there and that they're capable of readjusting. There was a time where, this sounds really dumb, but there was a time where we were scared to get rid of cable, me and my wife. And it was so stupid. It was probably like 12 years ago, right? And it was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do without cable? And we just got rid of it. Now this is just something simple and silly, but, we got rid of it. And it was funny because it was even better. It was better that we didn't have it. We had more money, we had more time. We weren't tethered to the TV like we had been before. And it was like, even just something simple like that is a low-hanging fruit where you can go, oh man, that didn't kill me. That actually made my life a little bit better. And so slowly, incrementally, you start kind of getting closer to chopping at that bigger tree, and so that's
you're decluttering your life. We don't watch a lot of TV either. we don't have cable or anything. Of course, everything you can find online to watch. We'll watch a movie here and there. Of course, we'll watch a Cowboys game or something like that. But other than that, I really don't watch TV. There's always something to do in a sense, right? From cutting the yard, fixing the fence, finishing writing my book, going to my kids, practices and doing all those things because memories and experiences, right? Or instead of being stuck in front of a TV, you're 9 series deep, 9 hours go away. But then I ask you to do something on your homework, like, well, I don't have time. I'm like, man, you just binge. Oh, I can't work out. Well, you just binge 9 hours of Netflix. You know what I mean? You got 45 minutes. So, I mean, but again, it's up to the person. You know
what's cool is my buddy that owns this place. They watch TV, they watch sports, they have all that stuff. But there's so many times, I'm notorious, man. I'm the worst friend you can have because I will just show up at your house. I don't call and go, hey, man, I'm coming over. All of a sudden, Gabe's in your driveway, and hopefully you're dressed. And,
I got your location.
Yeah, I know you're here. My sister hates it, but I will go to his house, and they have like 50 yards of AstroTurf that they built in the back in a batting cage for the kids. And I tell people how awesome it is because I'll just show up at their house, and they're just hanging out in the backyard, and they might be hitting a volleyball to each other or throwing a ball or, just kind of, they're not spending any money. They're not sitting watching TV. They're spending, and the whole family's there, all 5 of them, and one of them might be, the mom might be running sprints or they're physically doing something and interacting with each other, and it costs nothing. And it's like, it's funny because I talked to his daughter, she's the youngest, and I asked her one time, I said, and these are habits that they've built over years, right? This is their relationship with each other, and she's probably 11, 12. I asked her earlier this year, we were talking because she had gone hunting with her dad, and I think they'd gone to New Mexico or something. And I said, what's your favorite thing about hunting with your dad in New Mexico? And she said, my favorite thing is driving in the truck with my dad and talking. She goes, I get to ask him questions. He's honest with me. And it was funny that a 12-year-old is telling me the best thing that she's got going on is sitting in a truck with her dad for hours talking.
Yeah, when people interact with other people, it might not be a lot, again, depending on the relationship. It goes to hormones, dopamine, and, oh my God, endorphins. Right? You're getting this dopamine hit, and you're getting this endorphin hit. Right now, this is happening between me and you because we're jamming with each other. We're talking, we're laughing, we're smiling. My smile makes you smile. Your smile makes me smile, right? So
your beard makes me smile.
Oh, well, speaking of that, we'll cut it short. No,
continue. But I'll see that in a minute.
That's for you.
I saw that.
So it's a dopamine. Yeah. It's a dopamine hit, and it's an endorphin hit that you get from. Why do you think? Like, say when COVID happened and people didn't get to go to work, people felt sad.
Yeah,
it was being around other people that gives you those little hits. Yes, you might even not even like the person at work, and you might talk mess about them.
Sure.
But just people being around people
it's the interaction and the feeling productive.
Correct.
That is bigger than what people realize.
Yeah. So when you get stuck a lot, even for myself, that I work from home, but I get to go out and sit with people and stuff. But sometimes writing this book, I made a little office in the corner of our living room, and I'll just be there for hours. But you can feel it, right? I'm used to, for 8-9 years, I was around people all day long, right? Looking back, it's like, man, like it just hit different. And then now I'm by myself more, but now it also makes me more intentional. So and my wife's like, go work from somewhere, go here or go there. And I'm like, yeah, but I got to take all my stuff, and I got to take my food, and I got to take this. I'm like, I don't want to carry 10 bags.
Yeah.
So, and then plus I'll get to work a little. Then I get to work a little on my home projects. But yes, being at home kind of gets tiring, but I know that is my give to get, right? Because once this book is done, I can be out with more clients. I can hopefully do speaking engagements. But it took that time being in that corner to get to where I want to go. So I have no issues being by myself, being in that corner, chopping it away, writing and writing and writing, and it's mentally exhausting. I told my wife one day, I would rather run a marathon and then run a marathon backwards and not turn around and run physically backwards. I would rather do that than write and edit, because 5 minutes in and it feels like I worked for 3 hours.
Sure.
And it's mentally exhausting.
Yeah.
And then being a math guy, writing and spelling isn't my jam. So, but I know that eventually I know I can impact people.
Yeah.
And it being a short read, easy for someone like me, because I do and did and still do what I wrote in here. So again, it took my life, chopped it up into pieces, making it a how-to. How can I impact somebody else? Here are some steps. I can teach you. I can sit with you. It's not just like a cookbook where you can't cook and I give you a cookbook and you still comes out crappy. No, you have the chef with you. We're going to do it side by side. We're going to click. I am instilling in you these habits that hopefully you can pass along to your kids or whoever you want to, because that's the name of the game. My name of the game is to touch you, you touch somebody else touches somebody else. And that keeps impacting each other, not just I am doing it for myself, right? Doing it for yourself, but not on the selfish end, if that makes sense.
So when are we expecting to see this book on Amazon?
I don't know. I was hoping to be done with I would say maybe final edit by next week, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I had to come to the realization, my kids are off of school. I want to spend time with them because I can spend hours in that corner. Do I need to? Yes, I do need to finish it. But I also need, my kids want my attention.
Well, that's important, man.
So
I think people will respect that.
It's the balance. Yeah. So I'm hard on myself. Again, if you saw a few Instagram posts before, I went to my counseling session and he used the word passes. He's like, because I think I asked him like, why do you think I am the way I am? And he goes, well, because you don't give yourself passes. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what's that? And I was like, oh, excuses. Yeah, you're right. I don't give myself excuses because there's no reason why I can't do X, Y, Z. If it's figure it out. Like there's always ways to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's giving yourself an excuse, but then there's also saying, hey, I've got this block of time, and yeah, I may have scheduled something here, but things change. Yeah. Right. And all you're really, really doing, sometimes there's excuses and you can tell the difference, but other times it's like, well, let me just readjust the schedule because, maybe I didn't have the foresight to see this happening, or maybe there was other things and I missed something. But now the current state of my calendar, the priorities have changed, right? And it's like, not that one's more important than the other. They're both equally important, just in two different areas. But it's like, here's my block of time to spend time with my children. Yeah. It's not going to hurt anything to take this block of time, move it down the road a little bit, and reallocate this time to my kids.
One of my spiritual mentors, again, you got to have mentors for everything because they've done it, they lived it, they do it. That's what they do.
Well, the important thing is they've had all the screw-ups. And that's what people don't get is the importance of a mentor is the fact that they've already been through the crap.
I'm saving you the $100,000 mistake.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, look, I'll show you mine. You show me yours. Like, I messed up. This is what it cost me. Don't do this.
Yeah.
But they really got into, because I used to let my calendar drive me. And not that I would get upset that I didn't get to do something, but it would kind of bug me.
Yeah.
Like, man, I could have got that out the way. I could have did this. And they're like, your calendar is driving your life. It needs to be the other way around. So now when something happens, not that it's I just kind of move it around. So being able to finish this draft while I'm with my kids, I'm like, okay, I can throw a side text to my boss and be like, well, who's going to do our graphics now for this book? So now I'm not physically writing, but I'm still working on the book.
Sure.
Because I need graphics done. What is this book title going to look like? What is what are these images going to be? So
it almost sounds like my exercise, right? It's like there's some days that I can push myself pretty hard, and there's times where like when I'm exercising and I just stop, right? Like in the middle of the exercise, 'cause I need a break. And it's funny because I always hear Tim in my head going, just keep moving. You know, it doesn't matter if you're running, walking, or crawling. Keep moving. And that's the same process of what you're doing. Yeah, there might be days that you're throwing rocket fuel on the projects, but then there's some days where you're just dotting T's and dotting I's and crossing T's.
Yep.
You know, but you're still moving. You're still
it's
progressing.
moving forward. So January now again, I'm gonna make a big push. Right, I need to have those big pushes. So again, that's where my wife gives me a lot of grace and a lot of time. Is she knows where I'm trying to go, so she'll take a bigger of the load at the moment of said thing, whatever it could be, because it has to get done.
Yeah.
So January was supposed to be like graphics, and February be like launch day. But it's like, okay, do we do Amazon? I think it's called like KDP or something. I don't know all that part yet. But I reached out to a few people like, how did you do self-publishing? And then plus, when I do get it done, I already have my list of people that have said, well, I'll buy your book. So I'm already taking notes like, oh, this guy's singing about, well, this guy's singing about my book. So when it's done, hey, so it's done now.
Hey, if it's that short, I'll take a book.
It's gonna be again.
I'll buy one.
It's gonna have some pictures because again, it's gonna try to touch everybody from visual, tactile, verbal type deal of the how-to steps. And again, very very easy read. 50 pages. If you scroll through your phone and you're reading all these things, you could read 50 pages.
Yeah.
But again, it's that is just a small piece to get everything going. Then hopefully you can spread everywhere else. But again, it starts small. Going back to our first topic was the team, is that I did it for so long, from building websites to doing this to doing that. I knew I needed staff, developing in my staff. And then all of a sudden when, I don't think I could catch up with you on that one. Like when I lost my building, people asked me like, hey, you're going to have a mental breakdown, or what are you going to do next? I'm like, well, I don't know yet, but I'm not going to have a mental breakdown because I know there's an answer to this problem. And that, again, I detached emotions. Was I sad? Sure. Was I angry? Probably. But I didn't let any of that control my decision making. It had to be facts, and it had to be this, and it had to be that. And I knew that God was going to bless me. All he was doing was taking a physical location away from me. And he left me with 8 to 9 years of experience. But also, too, what work did I put in? Going back to business classes, going back to doing this. So I signed myself up for school again. I'm not going to say what it is, but I signed up again for school, which I told myself after like the 10th time of going to school, I'm not going to school again. But it's that feed of knowledge, right? I don't know everything, but I know a lot of things. Again, it goes back to, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room.
Yeah.
So just having mentors, being open to be like, hey, can I just borrow 5 minutes of your time? But you better make that 5 minutes good. You better ask some solid questions. Having spiritual mentors, having a mentor in finances, into fitness, having to all these things, that's where you constantly self-develop. And again, it just comes back to self-reflection and saying, yes, I need help. This is where I need help. And it's not asking for help in a vulnerable spot, is asking for help like, hey, I just need some development, man. Mm-hmm. And it's always for me, I found out it's always like people closest to you that are less likely to listen as well. So a lot of my clients were not even close to me. They just knew of me. And again, I don't even promote a lot on social media. I just more give us little speeches and 30-second reel, whatever.
Hey, your new stuff's been pretty quality, man.
I've been trying.
I'm not saying anything about the old stuff, but you can tell that you've stepped up your game. Like it's sharp.
It came from a team, right?
Yeah.
I hired a boss.
When you told me that, those videos, those clips made sense. I was like, oh.
She's telling me what to do. I wanted to be functional, right? I made a little studio in my house, but my wife had to like it first, right?
Yeah. Oh, you can tell a lady had a hand in that.
If she didn't like it, it probably wasn't going to happen. But like she did all the painting.
It looks great, man.
She knows like the vision we're looking for, right? Again, I'm not going to follow trends. I'm going to be who I am in my masculinity, regardless of what people think about masculinity.
Yeah.
Right. We're OG masculinity. Like, so that needs to kind of be in there. So even to my wife will be like, well, you need to wear this, in the video. I'm like, fine. So I'll go change. Because to me, I'll jam in anything.
Oh, I will too. I'll show up in blue jeans and black t-shirt.
So, my PR girl, my boss, and my wife, like, they'll kind of tell me, sit like this or do that, or, dress this and wear that. Because again, I'll do it anything.
Well, what's funny is people like us, we are the way we are, and we're going to show up and we're just going to do our thing, right? But when you can get an outside perspective to watch how you're sitting, how you're talking, maybe the cadence in which you're speaking, they're absorbing it and digesting what you're putting out. Yeah. So when you can get feedback from somebody else, like on something like that, that's going to help with when you do post it, when you do share it. Yeah, people digesting it. I in general am an acquired taste, so I get that most people aren't like me. Yeah. So like if I can adjust myself, if I can do something a little different to make myself a little more palatable to people, that's only gonna be beneficial. Because at the end of the day, outside of this is a career for you, right? This is how you provide for your family, but also at the end of the day, it's the knowledge you're sharing with other people. Yeah. That is at the core a transition that's happening here. Sure, there's monetary gain, there's knowledge gain on the other side, but what it is at its simplest is a share of information. Yeah. And it's like, what can I do to make, whether it's visual, whether it's audio, whether it's whatever I'm doing, what's the best way for me to take my information and give it to other people?
And it's hard, right? When you want to speak. Again, I get a lot of topic on finances. When you want to speak about finances, it's not a 30-second topic. No. But I have to dish out, this answer in 30 seconds. And again, even what I dish out, content-wise, is not the answer yet.
Sure.
I am just letting you know what the problem is.
Well, you're provoking thought in 30 seconds.
Correct. It's the thought. And then it can go into, down the line, maybe a long-form content. I can provide multiple answers. Sure. Because there's not just one answer. You live a certain lifestyle, I live another one. And it's, again, we still have the same end goal, but we're going to take different paths to get there. Yeah. Health-wise, we have the same end goal, me and you, to be the best version of ourselves. Well, how are we going to get there? Financial-wise, right? And it's like, when sometimes people see a visual thing, when they see a rich person, they don't really understand the backstory of that. Okay, are they in debt? Did somebody gift that to them? When you see wealthy people, man, I've seen some of them, they're wearing Walmart clothes, they're wearing a white shirt, some tennis shoes. So you want to do this now to look like this later, not portray this now. Sure. And never get out of it.
Because there's also another side to that where you got a guy like me who loves to go to work and go home and get a paycheck and get, a little Christmas bonus and also take some PTO, and there's people like me that go, I like that, and then there's some people that'll run their own business, and work every day, all day.
If they took away that Christmas bonus, would you be upset?
At this point, not really. I would, yes.
Would it bother you?
It would bother me, but I think at this point in my career, I'm finding myself in a transitional state. Oh, okay. That, to me, it would be more fuel to say, hey, what are you waiting for, man? What are you waiting for?
There's no perfect time. I tell everybody, there's no perfect time. Yeah. They'll be like, some months, potential leads will be like, well, I'll get to you in 6 months. I'm like, okay, but remember, within 6 months, a lot of things could happen. Sure. So again, it's just really speaking life into people, being intentional. They might, again, think that there's some kind of magic or I'm trying to trick them. And I tell them, like, I am not doing anything that I don't do for myself. There's no magic. It's basic math. And in my book, I write in there, it really took me to find out that it's second grade math. Or third grade math.
Well, we've overcomplicated things.
Correct. Overcomplicated things. And it's like, well, no, let's do this. So when I do work with clients in the beginning, I tell them the truth. It's going to be boring. There's no instant gratification because you have to set this up. And then this has to talk to this. Now we have to give this time because these two businesses were never linked together. they have to figure out if this is a real business or a real account. Then this business has to figure out if this one's a real account. Then you have to wait. So we can't, people getting paid, you can't get paid any faster. Okay, well, within that time, we can do a lot of legwork. So when you do get paid, we know what's going to happen. So when people are like, oh, so you do budgets? I said, no, it's not a budget. I do a cash flow system. Because a budget is like putting a cap on something and only so much water is going to fit in there. We want this to be open. We just created a system, and I want this thing to overflow.
Sure.
So I call it a cash flow system, because we want to overflow, but then by the time I know we have another cup to catch it, then that's going to overflow. Then we have another one. A budget is capping it, and that's all you're going to get.
Right.
And there's, again, more to it in life, whether it be this cup was a faith cup, a fitness cup, a financial cup, or a mental health cup, right? For my fitness-wise, I've gone through a whole transition already where I did the CrossFit thing for so many years. Then I went to Olympic weightlifting. Then I went to powerlifting. Then I went to general, just fitness, just to move. And then my kids got into jiu-jitsu, and I pushed them, and I want them to try hard, whether they give 40%, but if they give 100% of that 40%, man, I'm happy. That was a great training session. And I even took it a step further, and I was like, if I'm going to ask you to do something, I'm going to do it with you. So I started doing it as well. So now we have a common bond. We can talk about jiu-jitsu now all together. When they were in swimming, I started swimming, not at their level, because my kids will still beat me in swimming, like swim properly.
Yeah.
I started doing that with them because it brought us together. It brought us, oh man, I can be on the same team as my kids. In jiu-jitsu, I can be on the same team as my kids. We're learning the same moves. We're going through the same grind, so they can see that I am not just asking something from them. I am also getting dirty and doing the work, getting the cuts and bruises and aches and pains along with them. So that's been a pretty cool venture.
That's awesome.
Doing that with them.
You know what's cool about that is I don't have kids, so I'm talking out of my rear end right now, but I feel like a lot of times parents put kids in things to provide an avenue for them to distract their kids so they can have more time for themselves. In a sense that maybe they're working late, maybe they're doing something. They get the kids in activities, and partly it's to get the kid in activities. But also it's kind of like, hey, I'm going to drop, little Ricky over at football practice, and then I'm going to take off.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and he was like, a lot of this is just being present as a parent.
Yeah.
Participating with your child. He said, we see so many parents, they don't even get off the car. He said, they pull up, drop the kid off, and take off. And granted, people have things to do. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's like to interact with their kids, that is a bond you guys are building that will last forever.
We're guilty of that sometimes, where HEB is one block over from the jiu-jitsu school. So I run over there real quick.
Yeah.
We try not to be on our phones while we're in their practice watching them, and we sit there and we watch them. Because they'll look over and see if we're watching.
Yeah. They want you to see them do well.
Yeah. So we're watching them. We'll hop on our phones really quick, and I might schedule a client, or I'll schedule an appointment, or do something, and my wife will do some of her things. And then with that, I think I touched on last time, is that I'm also a blended family. Mm-hmm. Blended as in I came with one kid, and my wife came in with one kid. So that's what we call a blended family.
Sure.
So I even took that a step further, obviously with mentorship from my senior pastor at our church, and my two mentors I go to for spiritual and faith advice as well, is I went to school for family blended ministry. So understanding a blended family, how to do my best to run one. What does it entail? Because I don't come from one.
Yeah.
So at times is first family answers are not for second family problems, because we have a lot of moving parts.
Sure.
So sometimes those answers that we get to fix this issue can't fix it because the variables are different.
Yeah.
So that's what stuck out to me most, is these variables, right? We have other co-parents that are going to have other relationships and possibly other kids. what does that even look like for our kids? And getting really into that is, say we're going to be married for 2 years. Our kids are still 1 year behind, mental wise, understanding what's happening, and emotional wise. So we have to be patient with them of understanding that I have a stepdaughter, right? She's my daughter, but a stepdaughter. She has a very present, active dad, and we're cool. But I also have to be a father figure to her. And I thought, and I'll be completely honest, I thought I was doing the right thing from the time we started our relationship till we got married into this, until I took this course. I thought I was doing the right things, but I was getting some of the wrong answers from her. Once I took this course and I really understood what a child goes through, I started actions. I implemented them the same day when I picked her up from school. Guess what? I got totally different answers because I got to meet her where she was at, getting her to lead this relationship. So, that was another venture I went off, was, again, help on the faith side, because I'm going to get people to ask me questions about my faith, but also too, they could be blended families. So, not saying that scripture doesn't talk about that, which it does, but again, we have a lot of extra moving pieces that possibly need tending to. So that was another venture I took off on. So as we talked earlier, like being busy.
Sure.
I can't watch TV if I'm, investing myself in this course. I'll have enough time to watch TV. I probably had enough time when I was a kid. Like, I'm not missing anything.
Sure.
I miss a cool show. Like,
especially these days.
Yeah. So
there's no more Sanford and Son and, Archie Bunker and all them guys. So, hey, I want to ask you, you set me up a while back. I missed that one event. I get a text every now and then. Yeah. Somebody says, "Hey, church." Who's that coming from?
That's probably coming from
It's a 210 number.
The church team.
Okay.
They invite everybody that's been on the list, right? Because I signed you up.
Yes.
To all of the events that we do. We're having a Christmas Eve service today. So after this, I go serve on a church team. So I'm gonna go serve today as well.
Explain a little bit to folks about that, because like we talked about last time, to me, I think, we like we talked about a little bit earlier, we do things the way we've been taught, or that we visually watched, but times are different, right? So for me, dudes get skipped over a lot, and it's important for dudes to be there for dudes, and to have access to like-minded men, and to be able to participate in things with men, and to be able to be around men that you can sit there and go, because this is my whole thing is, I always feel like the best thing that you can provide, the best thing that a woman can help provide herself is by being with a strong man, right? I think we went through this little weird phase where, you kind of suppressed the male mentality. You kind of suppressed, you heard talk several years ago, not that long ago, how terrible, men can be, and patriarchy and toxic. All these words kept popping up and were in our faces. Yeah. And, and good men sit there and smile and just be quiet. But as we get older, we start to lose our connections with our peers, and we just become older and quieter and, a little more, I guess, cynical about the world. Yeah. So to be able to have an avenue for men to come together, be positive, and kind of refuel each other, I guess, in a sense.
Accountability, right? Keeping us accountable for being men.
Yes.
The church will send out, invites to, men's event. I invited you. You didn't have an excuse. You had a legit reason, right? Yeah. What you went through. So with that is, again, being around for the men. And I got a crazy story about that one, because and that's how I will let people know that God is real. When I met the pastor, since I'm an assistant to one of the pastors, his guest speaker was there. I met with him for 3 minutes. "Hey, I'm Rob. We're waiting for so-and-so. Do you need anything?" "No, I'm good." "Hey, man, how are you doing?" "I'm doing great." Then our senior pastor walks in. They start jamming. That's it. I walk him down, do whatever. He He's speaking over about 130 men, and he looks right at me, and he speaks some of the most powerful words that I've ever heard spoken to me. And I'm not going to say those yet, but that happened, and I was like, oh wow, okay. And I don't really take notes, because if I'm taking notes, I'm not paying attention.
That's how I feel too, man.
So I use my phone. There's the voice memo feature, right? So during certain services, I'll turn on the voice memo and I'll just leave it there, because then I can go back, listen, and take notes.
I do the same thing, Rob. That's why we're amazing.
So check this out. Prior to that, not knowing, I sat next to somebody that they saw me do that. They saw me turn on the voice memo and put it there and left my phone there. He picked that trait up. He started doing it. 6 months passed, and I met this dude for breakfast like maybe 3 weeks ago. And it was like, I would see him at church, like, "What's up, bro? What's up, bro?" And then one day he just asked me a question, and then we started jamming, exchanged numbers. And we met for breakfast, and we're chit-chatting, and we bring up this men's event again. Because he asked me, he was like, "What do you really do?" So I told him what I did, and I told him why I do it. I said, I sit with people. This right now is what I do. And we're going, and we start talking about the men's event, and he goes, "Oh, okay." And then we leave, split our ways. He texts me. He goes, "I got something that's going to bless you." And he goes, "I didn't know this was you." And I said, "Okay, like, this is over text. Like, you didn't tell me that in person. Like, what do you got?" It's so and we weren't even sitting next to each other. We're like opposite ends like this. And it so happened that guest pastor gave me some prophetic words. Gave him some prophetic words. Well, the whole time he was voice memoing. This is 6 months later. He sends me to the voice memo. He goes, "This is about you." So I told my wife, and she was like, that was a divine appointment that God did. He got these two guys that didn't know each other, got prophesied over the same day. All this time passes. What are the odds of this guy having those prophetic words that were spoken over me? And the words that are in this audio, the topic was about, I never told this pastor anything about me. And he legit talked about every single thing I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like, those are some really powerful words. So that right there will tell people God's real. He knows what he's doing. It's about being patient, doing his work. And for this dude that I would just say, "What's up?" to you at church, he had it on his phone for like 6 to 8 months and sends it to me. And I was like, poof, mind blown.
My buddy Eddie Vera always says, God's timing, man. It's God's timing.
So when I'm in that little dark corner at work, chopping it away, and there's nobody around me, right? So it's what are you doing when nobody's looking?
Yeah.
I'll play that audio, and like you said, that fire, boom, gets me going, and it reminds me of why I'm doing this. Why do I, yes, my whole life looks different, but it doesn't mean that God took everything away from me. He just gave me what I needed and took away the fluff.
Sure.
So he trimmed the fat.
Yeah.
And be like, here, this is what you need. So, I mean, that one day I want to play that audio for people to really listen to. I might throw it in the book, but it's not, I can talk about it, but it's not ready to have all the words released yet.
Yeah.
I just know, and that's when my boss that I hired, she happened to be one of the only females that was there. And when she also heard those, and I walked to the back and I looked at her, and she's like, we were meant to work with each other.
That's awesome, man.
And I believe in you. And I was like, oh wow. And it's come from just meeting him.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be on my phone. I already sent it to one email. So if it ever gets lost, it's everywhere in the cloud and Google, on my phone.
Yeah.
So one day I'm going to share it, to let everybody know, like, it's about timing and patience and doing it and doing his work.
Yeah.
Right. It might feel weird. And it might not, it's that unknown, but again, as long as you put in that work, just like with anything else, you're going to get to that where you want to go. So as you can see, my journey is taken everywhere. So from my fitness area being very competitive to now hopefully maybe competing in jiu-jitsu as 42 years old. It's all changed, but the goal never changed with being the best version of myself. It's just, this is what I'm doing right now.
It's new tools, man.
Yeah. So finances, going back to I always say defending yourself and knowing how to swim is a life skill. Football's great. Basketball's great. Swimming is a life skill, and learning how to defend yourself is a life skill.
Defending yourself, learning to swim, and being able to communicate. Keys, man.
Yep. Or
hey, I see a beautiful little blue bottle there.
Oh yes.
What are we looking at, man?
This is what I made for you. So I
Rob
was
special.
It is. It's beard oil that I make. Again, I thought about venturing out and selling it. I mean, I sold a few at one point, but now I just hand them out.
Yeah.
I just enjoy making things for people. And then you complimented on my beard.
Oh,
and
you
that's
got a beautiful beard,
That's
man.
what sparked it. Shout out to my guy on Instagram, Blends by Sosa. Hit him up at Cool Cuts Barbershop.
Cool Cuts.
Get you good. So, yeah, I started making beard oil because, again, what I was finding for myself, I wasn't liking it very much. Mm-hmm. And then just going to my background in chemistry and understanding is what if I make my own? So I made my own. So I brought some for you.
Well, this is perfect timing because when you were here last, you were telling me how, and I never had the problem. This is going to sound real gross. I probably shouldn't say it, but you talked about the oil preventing beard dandruff.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's weird. I've never seen that. I don't have that. And it was funny because about a month or two after we had talked about it, I was sitting there at work, and I always wear a black shirt, and I looked like, I was like, I don't have any powdered donuts. And if I started doing this thing, and I said, at first I blamed you. I said, had Rob never said that, I would have never had this problem. All of a sudden, I started getting this beard dandruff.
Could do a little itch. So, I mean.
Oh, it smells good, man.
Yeah, I put a little bit of smell in. Sometimes I don't, depending.
It smells very natural.
Yeah. So I think I might have put some scent in there. So I do one with no scent, one with scent. And it's very concentrated, so you don't need a lot.
Okay.
And again, for dudes that don't know too much about their beard, yeah, you got to take care of it. It's a lot of maintenance. But the beard oil is for your skin, not for your hair.
Right.
Because the hair way down here pulls all the moisture. So that's where the dandruff comes from.
Right.
So once you keep your skin moist, it'll start pulling down, right? So your beard gets shiny because it pulls. So most guys want to just put it in the beard. It actually goes on your skin.
So you need to massage it in.
You need to massage it in. Even with that, I'll even put with the leftovers, I'll even put it in my hair.
Oh, really?
Because again, it's...
Hey, you got a whole setup going on here that's sharp, dog. I'm not even going to lie to you.
It's going to be Christmas. So with that, I started, put it into my hair, and just whatever excess, I'll put some lotion on. I'll throw on my skin, because again, it's made for your skin.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean,
man, that's awesome. I appreciate it, man.
If you don't take care of your beard, it gets very dandruffy, it gets very strangly.
Yeah, and then the chicks are gonna hate it. They usually love it while it looks good.
So you don't need to use a lot. Just put a couple on your fingers, massage it in, comb it out a little bit.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Hey, so let's tell people where they can find you on social media. And let me ask you this: you don't have to put it out there, but if some dudes listening want to participate in the church events that y'all have going on, is that something that people need to get invited to, or is that something where if somebody really wants to engage with something positive that's kind of male driven, is it something that they can invite themselves to, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's both. Again, it's word of mouth unless you find our church on social media, which is Grace Avenue on social media, and you kind of plug in with them. They have a link where you can sign up and they'll send you all that stuff as well. Or again, personal invites.
Right.
So there's both ways on there. So I believe on Instagram, it's Grace Avenue. I'm not too sure about a Facebook. I know they're going to get their YouTube, I believe, stuff going back again. As for me, even on my personal, The Beard and Rob, I post church stuff as well that you can click on and find them. And then as for business wise, it's 4F Lifestyle SA on Facebook and Instagram. Then, of course, we're working on the link tree. We're working on all that fun stuff. And hopefully one day being like you and having this cool setup. So that's how they can find me on my personal at The Beard and Rob. Because, of course, it has its own entity. It's its own thing. And then, of course, 4F Lifestyle SA on Facebook and social, where now on Facebook, I'm starting to put in more reviews on there. So that's another beast on its own, is actually getting clients to spend a couple of minutes to put a review on there so people can really engage and see that it's just not this magic tool. I'm teaching so they get to put their experience, whether you're a business that needs consulting on how to, create funds, SOPs, what does that business funding look like, to even personal, how to turn yourself into your own bank, stuff like that, to get in there as well.
Awesome, man. So if somebody wants to kind of, I guess, touch base with you and maybe, get to talk to you a little bit about maybe using your services, or maybe even get to talk to you a little bit about the church events that you guys have putting on, they can holler at you on these social media links and message you. Yeah,
holler at me anytime. And I mean, I love questions, bro. I could sit here and talk with you all day long. We already know that.
Yes, sir.
I just love talking to people. So yeah, they can shoot me a DM. And I can answer. I'm very, forward. But again, I can't answer something that I don't know.
Right.
So unless you ask me a question, I'm just going to be like, what do you want to know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, good stuff, man. Well, I appreciate you, Rob.
You too, man.
Thanks for coming by, and I look forward to see what you have coming out. And I look forward to buying one of those books, man.
Okay, buy a book.
Write it down. I'll take it. Appreciate it, brother.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.